No, she's, I think we had her last.
Floral shade.
Yeah. So I don't know, if you think it's more respectful, just leave it.
I would say it's fine.
Okay, okay.
Sort of longer than that.
That is really a beautiful palace.
I don't think she's in business anymore.
This was an Israeli or
It was Riva's Palace, I think. Riva,
in
she was in like the south somewhere.
it's just so handsome. You know, the bronze is just a very
Well, I was able to choose sort of the colors, so I figured I would match the sanctuary. So that's what it is. So cool. So actually, Paul's here, so but he can take that honor. Well, as folks come in, but we have a number of things down now, so that's good. And so
this is a nice crowd.
good, and I think we have Joel on the line. And so we're not 1, 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, 9, 10.
Sibley's are going to be online too. Oh, understand. 65th birthday and he retired. So Alicia asked me to say happy birthday. She's going to mention that it's his birthday. When you talk
Great.
about it.
Let me make sure. Last night during the show, one of the cell phones went off during one, not thank God mine, but one of the cell phones went off during one of the numbers. It was not.
Did they make a joke about it? Or they just
No, they
ignored
stayed
it?
in character, but it wasn't sort of a regular thing.
Yeah.
Because the show is constantly being stopped by applause and standing ovations and cheering.
A very special night.
Yeah, so they were doing all that stuff. And at one point, Julie was singing, but she was crying because the people were cheering.
It really was. Oh,
So,
but there were a lot of people crying. How's your mother going to do?
she was great.
Of course she was.
Oops, 7:02.
It's time.
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to B'nai Israel, and happy Labor Day weekend.
And happy glorious weather. It's probably the best weather of the summer, and we have to say goodbye to summer very soon. So I hope you're all able to enjoy the beautiful weather. It is our, tonight it is Elul, it's the month of Elul, and we will be looking inward and starting to reflect and prepare for the high holidays. So we're going to start with a nigun that's specially for the month of Elul. And tonight we're just going to do the yidi syllables. Next week I will add the words, so. Shabbat Shalom.
And again, welcome. As Linda's opening hymn reminds us, we're in Elul, the month of preparation for Rosh Hashanah. Tractate Brachot of the Talmud observes, in the Psalms, David said 5 times, "Bless Adonai, O my soul." But why 5 times? It was because of the 5 similarities between the Holy One and the soul. Just as the Holy One fills the entire world, so does the soul fill the body. Just as the Holy One sees but is not seen, so the soul sees but is not seen. Just as the Holy One sustains the world, so does the soul sustain the whole body. Just as the Holy One is pure, so is the soul pure. Just as the Holy One dwells in the innermost place, so does the soul dwell in the innermost place. Let the one possessing these 5 qualities come and praise the one with these 5 qualities. The high holy days are a time of renewal and return. While grounded in wisdom and in reason, Judaism nonetheless marvels at the mysterious as it sees our own voice of conscience and consciousness, linked to life and to its source, the source of creation. May this period en route to the new year help to fill our souls with blessing. We now invite Sharon Goldman to lead us in candle lighting. Please turn to page 120.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. We now turn in our prayer books to page 144, page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yigdal v'yikdash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amat yivrahu te ve'amlich malchuteh.
V'chayechonu yomechon uv'chaye lechol Beit Yisrael.
Bagala uvizman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah levorach lehalam u'le'omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalei v'yithalal shemei dekudeshah le'lemin kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata banechemata damiran be'ama v'meru. Amen.
We turn to page 146 and we invite those who are able to rise.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 149, we read together in English at the top of the page, the first reading. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and life. You guide the current of day into light, spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ari v'arabim. Page 151. Again, we read the first reading at the top of the page together. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchut please be seated. Page 154, we join together with Linda in the chanting of the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלבתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ושרתם להורות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בעיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet, we turn to page 157. The second reading on the page, we read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces, though our failings are many and our faults are great. It has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Yam bum bum bim bim bum, yam bum bum bim bum, yam bum bum bim bim bum, yam bum bum bim bum, yai da 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 da, yam bum bum bim bum, yai da 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 da, yam bum bum bim bum. Mi chamocha, Eileen Adonai, mi chamocha, Nedar HaKodesh, no rati lo rosefelle, no rati lo rosefelle. Yam bum bum bim bim bum, yam bum bum bim bum, yam bum bum bim bim bum, yam bum bum bim bum, yai da 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 da, yam bum bum bim bum, yai da 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 da, yam bum bum bim bum. Malchutecha ra'u fanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Zeli, zeli, anu ve'amenu, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed. Yam bum bum bim bim bum, yam bum bum bim bum, yam bum bum bim bim bum, yam bum bum bim bum, yai da 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 da, yam bum bum bim bum, yai da 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 da,
Benet Marki Fada Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo Miyad Chazak Mimenu Bolchata Adonai Gaal Yisrael. On page 161, we read together in English at the top of the page. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Bochat Adonai sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. On page 162 is our prayer for Shabbat, V'shamru. My favorite version.
Rabbi didn't chew it up.
V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat La'asod et Hashabbat L'Toratam B'Torah Bein b'nei Yisrael Loti le'olam le'olam Ki sheshet yamim b'asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz u'bayom ha'shvi'i Shabbat vayinafash u'bayom ha'shvi'i Shabbat vayinafash. I didn't mean to call it audible. It is a lovely melody. On page 164 begins our tefillah. For those who are able, we invite you to rise. We'll be chanting the prayers on the right-hand pages to page 170.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chastechot le'imahot, u'mevii gula lifnei bneihem, l'man shemo be'ahava. Melech ozer Moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'srat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Yehoshia, Mechakel chayim b'chesed, Mechayei hakol b'rachamim rabim, Shomech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Umigdol Melech, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ve'nemana Tale HaChayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. Page 173, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Boch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. The psalmist counseled that Adonai owes le'amo yitain. May God give strength unto our people. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God bless our people with peace. So many sorrows and troubles, what we call tsuris. So much violence, bullying, and indifference. With the strength that God gives us, may we be agents dedicated to a time when all might know shalom in realm upon realm. We sing Shalom Rav for abundant peace, page 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Olam Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Olam Tasim Leolam. Ki otahu melech Adon l'kol hashalom. Ki otahu melech Adon l'kol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chayit u'b'chosha b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
Silent prayer can be found on page 180. Say shalom bimrova.
Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our Torah service this evening, page 364. We invite those who are able to rise. We sing Ki Mitzion. Alexis, we're going to invite you forward to open our ark.
Ki Mitzion Tetzeh Torah, Ki Mitzion Tetzeh Torah, Udebar Adonai Mirushalayim.
Page 366.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadu Adonai Hiti, Umeromela Shemo Yadav. Lecha Adonai Hagidula, V'hagibura, V'hatiperet, V'hanetzach, V'hahor. Kiko Bashamayim Uvaretz, Kiko Bashamayim Uvaretz, Lecha Adonai Hamalacha, V'yavida Se'vechol Erosh. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Be'al Kulam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Be'al Kulam. Salam Aleinu, Be'al Haolam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu, Be'al Haolam. Salam, salam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Be'al Kulam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom
Please be
Aleinu, Be'al Kulam.
The themes of Labor Day are also evidenced in our Torah portion. Part of the portion will review contracts and workers' rights. Our Sedra, or Parashat, our portion is called Ki Tavo. Ki Tavo, translation, when you go into the land. Ki Tavo. It begins, though, with a statement on human dignity. This was the ancient Israelite pledge of allegiance, familiar to every Seder goer, as it's also found in the Passover Haggadah, the message that God is on the side of human freedom. Later in our portion, as has been discussed earlier in Deuteronomy, we are taught not to move boundary markers. This has largely been understood as an injunction against stealing from your neighbor. You're not supposed to move a property boundary from here to there and thus take over more property and the like. The rabbis found another lesson here as well in the fact that it's repeated this instruction twice, in an earlier portion and then again in this portion as well. And they said, namely, we're not to infringe upon another's livelihood. And that translates to economic policies that were to ensure things like collective bargaining All told, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel explained, in its relations between people, it is in relations between people that God is at stake. The oppression of a person is a humiliation of God. We're going to be doing the beginning of the portion, page 1508 in the Torah commentary. That's the beginning and opening of chapter 26. Dan, we're going to invite you forward for our Aliyah this evening. Okay, I know. Dan's going for a tallis. I was going to give him mine if he came up, so, but here he comes. Yeah. Yeah. Explain to somebody under the age of 15 what a phone booth is. There is a great cartoon this week in the New Yorker. Some of fellow parents may appreciate this, and it shows this astronaut who has landed on what looks like the moon, and he is outside of the rocket ship, and he's holding a cell phone. And the caption is, "Hi, Mom, I just got here." And so,
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. Vehaki tavo el haaretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha nachala v'rishta v'yashavta ba v'lakachta mereshit kol pri ha'adama asher tevi me'artzecha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach v'samta v'tene v'halachta el hamakom asher yivchar Adonai Elohecha l'shaken shemo sham. When you get to the land that Adonai your God is giving to you as a permanent possession, and you establish yourself in it, you shall take of the first fruits of the land and bring it of the land that God has given you, and bring it in a basket and go to the place that Adonai will choose to establish God's name to dwell there. Uvata el hakohen asher yehiyeh bayamim hahem, and you'll bring it to the priest who will be there at that time. Ve'amarta elav, and say to him, Higadati hayom l'Adonai, that I declare to Adonai Elohecha, your God, He Vati el haaretz asher nishba Adonai lavotenu latet lanu, that Adonai has brought me to the land to give it to us. L'kacha kohen hatane miyadecha v'nicho lifnei Adonai mizbach Adonai Elohecha. And the priest shall take the basket from your hand and put it before God's altar, Adonai your God's altar. V'anita v'amarta lifnei Adonai Elohecha, and you shall recite before Adonai your God. Arami Oved Avi. My father was a wandering Aramean. Vayered Mitzrayma, went down to Egypt. Vayagor Sham Bimte Ma'at Vayihi Sham Lagoy Gadol Atzum V'Rab. Went down there, few in numbers, but became a great nation, mighty and numerous. Va'ir'u otanu hamitzrim, v'ya'anunu v'yitnu alav avodah kasha. But the Egyptians were cruel to us, and they put upon us hard work. V'nitzak el Adonai Elohei avotenu. And we cried out to Adonai, the God of our fathers and our mothers, our ancestors. V'yishma Adonai et kolenu. And God heard our voice. Vayar et onyenu ve'et amalenu ve'et lachatzenu, and saw our woe and our misery. V'yotzienu Adonai mimitzrayim, and God led us out of Egypt. V'yad chazakah, with a strong arm, uvizroa netua, uvumora gadol uvotot umoftim, and signs and wonders. V'yivienu el hamakom hazeh, bringing us to this land. V'yiten lanu et ha'aretz hazot, giving us this land. Eretz vat chalav u'dvash, a land flowing with milk and honey. Ve'ata, and now, hinei heveti et reshit pri ha'adamah, that I am bringing the first fruits of the land. Asher natati li Adonai, that God has given to me. V'hinachto lifnei Adonai Elohecha, and shall put it before Adonai, your God. V'ishtachavicha lifnei Adonai Elohecha, and will bow low before Adonai your God. V'semachta b'chol hatov, and you will rejoice in all the good. Asher noten lecha Adonai Elohecha, that Adonai your God gives you. U'veitecha ata v'halevi v'hager asher bechar. Bekir Becha, that gives to you and to your household and to the Levite and to the stranger who dwells in your midst.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Thank you, Yeshua Kohen. Stephen, we're going to invite you forward to raise the bottom of page 370 is where you will find V'zot HaTorah. And Abby, if we can invite you forward to address our Torah. For those who are able, we invite you to rise as the Torah is raised and addressed.
V'zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. La 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 la.
We remain standing, page 374, as the Torah is now returned to the ark. We sing Eitz Chaim Hi, Torah is a tree of life.
Eitz Chaim Hi, l'ma chazikim ba, v'tom meha me'ushar, d'racheya, d'racheya, v'kol tzivoteha shalom. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, v'nashuva, v'nashuva, Chodesh, Chodesh, Yameinu k'kedem.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. As we offer the blessing for healing this Shabbat, we are mindful of Phil Feynman, Kathleen Schneider, Patricia Levine, Susan Karchman. There are also those people for whom we pray privately. For those in our sanctuary, please share aloud the names of people for whom we likewise pray publicly this Shabbat.
Fred Rubenstein, Carrie Strauss, Susan Waters.
For those on Zoom, we ask you to unmute and say aloud the names for people whom we also pray this Shabbat.
Irene Sweet, Sony Weinstein, Janet and John Nicholas, Marge Goldberg, and Jessica Ann Bryan.
For all, may the Holy One send healing and shelter in protection. Our prayer is Misha Berach, page 371.
Bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe bless those in need of healing with refuah Shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
So every faith tradition, we all have our unusual practices. Try to explain tashlich, which we'll be doing pretty soon, emptying bread out of our pockets and throwing them into water on Rosh Hashanah. And then try to explain throwing it out of your window into a waterfall if it's raining. So too, monks, our Catholic friends, monks essentially go into silence, as some Catholic friends will do as a spiritual discipline. And this too seems very, very different, particularly from a Jewish vantage. Though I particularly enjoy this old joke about a novice seeking to join a monastic community. So a guy joins a monastery hoping to become a monk. He's offered a 3-year period as a novice to see if it's the right fit for him. At the end of each year, he is to meet with the abbot, the head of the monastery, and break his silence vow by saying 2 words. So the novice lives in a small cell. He prays, he works, he eats, etc. At the end of the first year, he's brought into the room and he says to the abbot, "Too cold." He then goes back to his small cell. Year 2. He prays, he works, he eats, etc. At the end of the second year, he's brought back into the room and he tells the abbot, "Bad food." And he goes back for his 3rd year in the small cell. He prays, he works, he eats, etc.
At last, he's brought back into the room at the end of this third year to see the abbot. Using his 2 words, the guy says, "I quit," and leaves. The abbot turns to another monk, and the abbot tells him, "And not a moment too soon. Since he came here, all he did was complain." Using that classic 3-part setup, there's then a story about a rabbi who came to a small shtetl in the Pale of Settlement, where Jews were under the Tsar, were permitted to reside. So remember, in the 19th century, into the 20th century, Jews could only be where, in certain parts of the Russian Empire, they were controlled. And we congregated in what was called the Pale of Settlement. The Pale of Settlement is now places like Belarus, Ukraine, Poland, and the like. So there's a story that a rabbi applies for the post of rabbi at which was vacant at a small shtetl. And the local Jewish community welcomes him and gives him a place to stay for a few days. This local community is eagerly awaiting Shabbos, when they could go to shul, they could go to synagogue, and hear this rabbi's sample sermon to see whether he would make a good fit there. Only there was a problem. The rabbi worried about his actually giving his Devar Torah, his word of Torah. He was applying here at this small shtetl because he'd been dismissed from his last pulpit for not being a good speaker. But what could he do? He had several days to labor on his draft. On the first Shabbat morning, he mounted the bima of the small shul. All eyes were on him as he readied to give his Devar Torah. He was about to open his mouth when he froze. He looked around. What if the Jews there found his message trite, superficial, lacking depth, and unappealing? What if his jokes fell flat? Or if the illustration he had put into the talk didn't actually fit the point, and the whole thing really made no sense? Yet a saying tells us, where there's Torah, there's also Chochmah. Where there is Torah, there is also wisdom. Fellow Jews, the rabbi began resolutely, do you know what the Sedra, what the Parsha, what the Torah portion is for this week? I bet Dan does. We all just heard it just a few minutes ago. It's Dawn? Ki Tavo, yeah, so we know it. So the rabbi says, do you know what I'm going to preach to you about? Only unlike here, unlike, say, Dawn, that week in that small shtetl, the Jews didn't know the Torah portion. No, the people of the congregation answered, if you don't know, then you aren't worthy enough to have it explained to you, said the rabbi indignantly. With that, he stepped down off the pulpit, off the bima. He returned to his lodgings, and there were feelings of shame at their ignorance, and the members of the congregation left the synagogue feeling great shame. The next week, on Shabbat morning, the shul was again filled with worshipers. Once more, the rabbi mounted the bima and he took his place at the pulpit. My dear Jews, he began, do you know what Sedra? Do you know what Parashah? Do you know what the Torah portion's reading is for this week? And what passage of the Torah I'll expound? Intimidated by its experience on the previous Shabbat, each member of the congregation cried out, "Yes, we know." "Okay," replied the rabbi, "in that case, then why do you need me to tell you? What do you need me to explain?" And he answered impatiently, and he again stepped down from the bima, and he left the shul to return to his lodgings where he was staying. Another week passed. On the third Shabbat, the congregation all gathered, and the rabbi once more mounted the bima. "Fellow Jews," he asked, "do you know what Sedra, what portion, what parashah we have this week, and what I'm going to speak about today?" Now the people of this shtetl, the members of the congregation, they were no dopes. In fact, they were clever. They had decided to profit from their past two experiences with the rabbi. So some cried out, "We know," and others cried out, "We don't know." The rabbi was taken aback. He stood there silently, undecided. Then he sternly began to rebuke the congregation, speaking in a very harsh tone. "For the life of me, I can't see why you need me to explain the Torah portion to you. My advice is, let those of you who know tell those of you who don't." And with these words, he descended from the bima. And the story ends here. But I suspect there wasn't a fourth Shabbat. All told, some lessons for Elul. Let's try not to complain too much. Excuses and dodges will get us so far. We have to be brave. Pirkei Avot explains, the impatient do not teach, the timid person does not learn. And finally, in Jewish settings, Torah always deserves to be considered and referenced. May these be amongst our determinations as we ready to enter 5784. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. Margaret, we're going to invite you forward to open our ark for the Aleinu. The Aleinu that we are chanting is on page 586. For those who are able, we invite you to rise. Page 586, the Aleinu we chant is the second paragraph down on the page.
Straight. You can open. That's it? Woohoo. Good job.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kugoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei halachim hakadosh baruch hu. Please be seated. Thank you. We continue our singing, page 591, V'ne'emar.
V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad U'shemo
page 598. At this moment in our service, we now call to mind our own beloved dead. We pray on their behalf. We voice the confidence that they are remembered for blessing. I ask that those in mourning or remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one, please rise if you are able when their name is mentioned, whether in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom. During Shiva, we remember Steve Gordon, brother-in-law of Dawn Tendler. During Shloshim, we remember George Nabakin, husband of Diane Selby Nabakin, Emmanuel Silverman, father of Marcy. We remember the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the deaths of Gerald Berkeley, Morton A. Berman, Bessie Cohen, Al Fishman, Amy Fishman, Esther Garber, Jonah Gold, Rose L. Harnick, Marie Heller, Herbert Liebeskin, Jacob Perlman, David C. Ross, Elsie Summit, Robert Bob Summit, Rose Walt, and Neil J. Zimmerman. We ask our worshipers in our sanctuary, should you have a dear one to add, to please rise and say their name. And we ask our worshipers on Zoom to unmute and say aloud the name of their loved one. For those in our sanctuary, should you wish, we invite you to offer a short remembrance of a dear one on our Kaddish list. Please raise your hand for the microphone. Let me just say, 9 years. It's gone very fast and very slow. 9 years. We remember the Ukrainian victims of Russia's invasion. Each Shabbat, we also mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust, the Shoah. This week, remember Fanny Axelrod, Shammai Axelrod, Catriel Axelrod, Sarah Haler, David Barak, and Gidel Barak. In remembrance and solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all to rise if you are able. Our Kaddish prayer, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach cheruteh v'amlich malchuteh, b'chaye chon uvyome chon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mavarach le'olam u'l'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrobam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirachata tushbachat v'nechamata damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlamu rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Zuchanam levracha. May their memories be for blessing, and let us say amen. Please be seated. Paul?
I've been told to use the microphone. Lo and behold, I have found it. Okay, I'm honored to do these announcements today. Thank you, Rabbi Linda. Of course, tech maven Michelle. Steve, right? Michelle. Thank the ONEG committee for tonight's ONEG. And who has good news to share? Would you believe? Oh, birthdays. There's Michelle. Come on, Michelle, tell us.
Okay, so we had a special birthday yesterday and the gentleman retired. So happy birthday to Bert Sibley and happy retirement.
Yom Haledet Sameach, Yom Haledet Sameach, Yom Haledet Sameach, Yom Haledet
Mazel tov, Bert.
Yeah. He's the guy who was the axe thrower, wasn't he? The champion thrower. Oh, man. Whoa. See.
Okay, if things sound a little bit different tonight, I'll direct your attention to above the reader's table, our new upgraded main speakers. Going to be much better for sound and much less occurrence of microphone feedback. So it's a good thing. We've been waiting for it for about 18 months, and it finally got installed the other day.
Very good. Okay, anybody else? No? I think I have a few announcements here. Let's see. September 8th, that's not next Friday. Shabbat services and the dedication of our new Tree of Life. I saw that Steve struggling to put it together. I couldn't understand how he did it, to tell you the truth, but that's another story. On September 9th, oh wow, Return of Torah study at 10:30 a.m. That same evening, Slichot at 7 p.m. here in the temple. September 10th, first day of religious school and the Federation campaign breakfast. Our own David Algenbrom will be honored, yes. It's the same. I didn't want to repeat the day. I apologize. I got lazy. And as we all know, we are getting ready for the High Holy Days. Happy Labor Day to all. The rabbi will be about 10 minutes after the motzi to say hello to our worshipers on Zoom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're the host congregation for the region, 4 or 5 temples. You're ready, and all will be coming, and we have the choir, the assembled choirs, and what is the feature?
So I'm just to make sure that folks can hear, and it's also that online, what Dan has just said. We are hosting the Greater New Haven Reformed congregations of Greater New Haven County for Slichot this year. This is what's going to be, not tomorrow night, but a week from tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. It will bring together with us Temple Emmanuel of Orange, of Greater New Haven, Mishkan Israel, Congregation Mishkan Israel of Hamden, our friends in Cheshire, Temple Beth David. They'll be here with us. Linda and the choir and Lisa have things well prepared for, or will. And the program this year is with Rabbi Michael Farbman, who is the rabbi in Orange. He grew up in he was born in what's now Ukraine, grew up in St. Petersburg in Russia. He has been twice to Europe to minister to refugees in Poland and in Spain, refugees from Ukraine. And he'll be speaking about Ukraine in a conversation with us about Ukraine and about Teshuvah, repentance and return. It really should be a wonderful subject. Thank you, Dan, for ensuring that it gets the attention that it should. In keeping with what has become an annual tradition, as Monday is Labor Day, Linda will lead Union Made as our closing hymn. Let us recognize how Jews in the labor movement, including Workmen's Circle, Arbiter Ring, the Jewish Daily Forward, the Forverts, the International Ladies Garment Worker, led the fight against child labor and for a minimum wage and collective bargaining. Later, Jewish leaders in the AFL-CIO and the American labor movement played a critical role in helping bring down communism through support for Solidarity, the Polish labor movement. The commitment to human dignity and restraints on unbridled power is at the heart of Torah. And so prior to Kiddush and Motzi, as has become a fun tradition, is Union Made. Linda, anything else to add? Or
I think,
Dan? I
can repeat that.
Yeah.
Okay, So Dan pointed out that the person who wrote the song is Woody Guthrie, and it just so happens that his second wife was Jewish. And where did she live? Where did they live?
Long Island.
Long Island. So that's almost like neighbors, I guess. And I owe a lot to the labor unions because my father worked very hard in a factory, and because of his protected rights, he was able to give us a very good life, and he sent us 4 kids to college. So I'm indebted to the unions. Fair, what's with the Union Maid? She never was afraid of goons and geeks and company fists and the deputy sheriffs who made the way. She went to the Union Hall when the meeting it was called, and when the Legion boys came round, she always stood her ground. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die. We're gonna modulate, make it a little more exciting. This is what they do sometimes, you know? Not quite like that, but it'll make it more exciting. This Union Maid was wise to the tricks of company spies. She couldn't be fooled by a company stool. She'd always organize the guy. She always got her way when she struck for better pay. She'd show her card to the National Guard, and this is what she'd say. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I one more time. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die.
Page 123. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafed. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshah b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu, b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hifilanu, zikaron l'mahaseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila L'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu b'charta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mikadesh ha-shabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Better this week? Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
presence be with you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Please join us in the social hall. Oh my God. Emails this week.